I have heard every single album in Rate Your Music's top 50 all-time list, multiple times, in fact. And today I'm going to give my expert opinion. I'm going to give my opinion on how I would rank all 50 albums in a nice tier list. In case you aren't aware, although you probably are if you follow me and you're a big old nerd, Rate Your Music is a music website that aggregates scores and ranks the albums that we've all rated, kind of like an IMDb, kind of like a Letterboxd, all those kinds of apps and websites. It's basically the music version of that. There are flaws, there are good things about it, there's lots of discourse about the website. Sometimes the comment boxes are a nightmare and people are very, very annoying on there, but overall, I think it's a good tool, and I think it has its place in the music world. It doesn't have the same kind of stature as maybe an IMDb or a Letterboxd, but I just think the nicheness of music rating and music nerd culture isn't quite as prevalent as people who just sit and watch films or play games all day. It's just not quite on that same pedestal. But if you use the website correctly, you use it as a tool in the right way, it can be great, and you can find some of your favorite albums of all time on there. Is the top 50 of all time representative of all music? Is it a perfectly flawless list? No. But is it good overall? We'll find out. As ever, make sure you're supporting the channel, subscribing, liking the video, sharing it around, all that good stuff. You can create your own tier list in the description by clicking the link. I've got it on Tier Maker, so you can make your own, share it around on Instagram, Twitter, wherever you follow me, wherever you want. Blue Sky, I'm sometimes on there. I'm sometimes even on Threads. What's the point of Threads, really? But I'm sometimes on there. Yeah, let me know. And yeah, if you're feeling super generous, maybe check out Patreon membership page. These videos take a long time. I work pretty hard on them, guys. If you want to support your boy, maybe consider those as well. But yeah, let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. Let's go. Now, there are a couple of noteworthy omissions out the top 50 that are just creeping up but aren't quite in the top 50 all time. David Bowie's Black Star, I feel like that could make its way in there eventually. There are, lots of other genres that don't quite get representation in the top 50. It's very rock dominated, it's very hip-hop dominated, indie kind of dominated stuff. Some really niche and surprising entries though, which I do think are quite cool to see in the top 50 all time, which again makes Rate Your Music quite a unique site, I think, because I don't think any other music site would have some of these kind of bizarre abstract albums in there. If you like them or you don't, I think it's pretty cool that they make their way in. There's also a lack, generally, I would say, of female representation. There's only really a handful of women in the top 50 completely. Now, the women that do appear are very good and very worthy of being there. But yeah, like Kate Bush is just outside the top 50. You'd think she could probably make her way in, considering how brilliant Hounds of Love is. But maybe you guys can comment and let me know your thoughts on that. I mean, particularly if you are a fan of any artist that you think deserves to be there, that isn't there, because there's a lot of rock, a lot of rap in there. I do think you probably could have made way for a few more women, for sure, without sounding too woke. So I'm sure some people will probably say that in the comments, but I don't know, man. Let me know your thoughts. Maybe you're happy with what's here. But yeah, let's get on with it and make a start on Tribe Called Quest to start with. I mean, I've been no stranger to talking about how much I love Tribe before. I've done a worst to best for them. I've talked about how We Got It From Here is one of my favorite albums ever. All genres, genuinely just up there with the greatest albums I've ever heard. And I've always said it is their best one. But that being said, their discography is pretty high quality. Like, Low End Theory is excellent. Like, it is. And for the purpose of this list, should go without saying. It's very much just my opinion. Like, all 50 of these could be in the all-timer, because why would they not? Why would they not be? They're in the top 50 for some reason. There's thousands of people that adore these albums. Like, they're all timers. But I'm just going through my own perspective, because I'm one guy who can only tell you my own opinion. I'm not here to tell you the objective truths, because I can't do that. I'm here to tell you what I think. And I think A Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory is excellent. I think it is. It's got amazing songs on there, some really unique song topics, some pretty progressive ideas as well coming through on the production and in Q-Tip's rapping and the lyrics and stuff. Amazing feature from Busta Rhymes. Like, come on, man, this is quintessential hip-hop. Yeah, absolutely one of the best of its kind for sure. It actually ranks at 49, so it is just inside the top 50. I've got my little list here, so if you keep seeing my head kind of looking down, I just want to use this as a reference point. These are all the albums written down here in my scruffy, scrawny handwriting. Yeah. You don't want to know what job I have in the real world outside of YouTube, guys, because if you did, you'd be questioning why I've got that job and why the hell I'm this bad at handwriting. But we'll save that for you guys to figure out. Bjork, as I already mentioned, she is one of few women that make it onto this list. And yeah, I mean, Homogenic, man, you can't really go wrong with Homogenic for me. Insane album with just some of the most invigorating and like outlandish and just incredibly unique production you will ever hear. Homogenic is the one for me, absolutely. Although it does rank lower than Vespertine, I actually do have it higher than Vespertine. And again, I've made Bjork videos before. You guys should be no stranger to seeing my thoughts on her. I love her music. You should have checked out those videos if you haven't. I've done a worst to best for her albums, and I've done a top 10 songs, which actually I only did earlier this year. But yeah, I love tracks from Vespertine. And actually, this album used to be lower for me. I was never the biggest fan of it. I always tried my hardest to check it out, but it has grown on me a little bit over years. Hidden Place is remarkable. I just think like the glossiness and the beauty kind of doesn't quite captivate me as much as I would think it would. Like albums like this really glossy, expensive, like artsy pop, like luscious vibe tend to really like click with me, and I tend to be very, very positive towards these types of albums. But yeah, I don't know. Vespertine is very good, but it hasn't quite ever like landed for me like that. Whereas Homogenic has these really wacky, crazy ideas like Pluto, some really unique rhythms like Alarm Call. You've got Bachelorette, which is one of her most like just like Bond, I guess, type song she's ever made. It's just incredibly huge and lavish sound that she pulls off amazingly. Yeah, I think it's an amazing album and definitely worthy of the all-timer. So Black Sabbath, Paranoid. So I want to talk a little bit about the reputation this album has and how surprising it is compared to their other albums. This album has a lot of ratings on this website, and because a lot of people know it, a lot of people will rate it well, because it's obviously a good album and a recognizable album with some of their most famous songs ever on it. Iron Man, War Pigs, Paranoid itself, like super famous rock songs that have held up and stood the test of time. But it surprises me so much that it has such a reputation compared to some of their other albums, like Sabotage, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, have like 30,000-40,000 fewer ratings than this does. And that might not sound a lot, but on the website of Rate Your Music, that is a lot. Like, there are some really well-known, famous albums that only have like 15,000 ratings or 20,000 ratings. Like, and there's some really recognizable albums that a lot of people know. Like, that is a lot of ratings, but for this website to have like that many more is outrageous. And it just surprises me so much that while it is a good album, I just don't know why it's the only Sabbath album and the highest Sabbath album by a massive margin on the website. That's what I just don't really get. You know, Black Sabbath self-titled is a lot lower. You've got Master of Reality, which isn't too far behind, but again, the rating disparity is pretty large. Like, obviously, you know, it's one of those albums, like, if you've heard it, you're going to like it. So that's kind of how Rate Your Music works. It aggregates it. If you've given it a positive rating because it's good, and then if 10,000 other people also like the album, it's just going to push it up higher and higher and higher. And I think that's kind of what's happened here. But it's just surprising how the reputation is so greater, so much greater, when it's probably not even like, dare I say, top 5? genuinely, I'm not trying to be controversial here. In there, if I might do a video on this one day because I love Black Sabbath, and a lot of people think I don't like metal or rock in the comments for whatever reason. I guess it's just not a genre I review as much because it's not like the flavor of our times in the way that it used to be. Like, it's not the most significant genre now compared to what it was back in the 70s and 80s, right? So yeah, in the 2020s, I'm not maybe as massively reviewing rock music or metal music, but it doesn't mean I don't like those genres. But yeah, it might not be top 5, honestly. Sabotage, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, Master of Reality, I would all easily rank higher than this, to be honest with you. I also think their first album, Black Sabbath, is amazing. I think that would be all timer if it was here. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's good. I think it's a good album, but just surprised of its reputation on the website comparatively to their other work. Don't know, man. It's just surprising. And obviously, we lost Ozzy this year too, so huge loss. Rest in peace to him, of course. Okay, Cocktail Twins. I think there's a world where this could be excellent. I might just have to go back to it again. I think there's some amazing tracks on it. Heaven or Las Vegas, amazing track. That's definitely one of my favorite songs ever made. Absolutely. I don't know if every track lives up to that, though. It's got a really unique atmosphere. It's very influential for the dream pop, shoegazy type vibe. And a lot of albums today probably wouldn't sound the way they do if it weren't for this. But yeah, it's never quite clicked with me. Again, kind of like Vespertine. Like, I'm surprised these two aren't higher up for my own personal taste. These are the kinds of albums I do usually love. But yeah, they're very good. I think, don't be too harsh on the ranking system. Like, to be this high, to be above decent good is obviously a good thing, in my opinion. Danny Brown's Atrocity Exhibition. Now, I was saying there were some niche albums, surprising albums that made it into the top 50 earlier that I'm quite happy to see, because it is very unlikely you would see this get such praise on any of the music website. Like, if you think of like the movie equivalent to Atrocity Exhibition, I don't know what that movie is, but think of like how, like, in the grander scheme of music, Danny Brown compared to some of these names is just nowhere near as well known. And I just think if you went onto Letterboxd, there wouldn't be anything like this in the top 50. And that's what I like about Rate Your Music. It allows space for these albums to coexist right next to David Bowie. Like, I think that's kind of cool. Even though I don't absolutely love the album itself, I just think it's cool that it's able to happen. And music lovers on this website actually appreciate all styles and all different types of music. I think it's cool. But yeah, Danny Brown's Atrocity Exhibition. Dare I say, by the end, it kind of runs thin on what it's doing. Like, nobody ever says this, but like, the lyrics and the kind of zaniness of the tracks, by the end of the album, I just think gets quite repetitive. Like, I think he kind of just runs out of steam with it. I never see anybody say this, but I feel like you kind of get the point by the end. It's good. It's very good. It's got some amazing tracks on there. Amazing songs. Like, I love Ain't It Funny. Like, that's a great classic song right there. But yeah, I think it's just very good. I don't know, man. It never quite wowed me from start to end. And I feel like Danny Brown is kind of like that generally for me. Like, I think he is very good, but it doesn't ever step above that mark for me into being excellent or an all-timer. It just never has for me like that. The only David Bowie album in the top 50 is Ziggy Stardust, and honestly, yeah, I'm a big David Bowie fan. A lot of his albums would land in excellent for me. He's just that good. He's definitely one of the greatest to ever do it. Incredible consistency. He has a few dips in quality, obviously, as anybody would. Nobody's dropping banger after banger every single time. And honestly, yeah, I mean, Ziggy Stardust might be like third or fourth for me, similar to Black Sabbath, where it's like, I think there are a few other Bowie albums that should be here over this one, but it's still excellent. Like, I'm not taking it away from him at all. I mean, like I said, Black Star's not too far behind. I think Station to Station's kind of lingering in the top 100. I think Low is also lingering around there too, so he has a lot of representation in the 100. And honestly, to be that many albums by one artist in the top 100 is a testament to how good they are, because 100 albums isn't that many. But David Bowie only having one album in the top 50 does surprise me a bit. But yeah, come on, man. Starman, 5 years. Christ. Suffragette City. I mean, oh, so good, this album. So good. Just anthem after anthem. So good. We've got Death Grips. Again, kind of what I said with Danny Brown. Kind of cool that this website allows space for these kinds of albums to be here amongst some of the most recognizable names of all time. And yeah, I mean, Death Grips... Start again. Death Grips rank very well. Despite the fact that it is a very weird and inaccessible album that you wouldn't normally think could make it onto this type of list. But yeah, I mean, I just have a soft spot for what they do, man. It's just like I can see why people would find it to be unlistenable or to be really grueling or to be really hideous on the ear. I am not going to get mad at you if you put it down in bad. Like, I'm not going to do that. I fully get it, but yeah, it's just like nothing else I've ever heard. Personally, my favorite is Bottomless Pit. I think that was the peak of their powers. Like, they were able to really combine a really unique sound palette with really accessible and catchy and really like hooky choruses and like weird elements that kind of worked in such a unique way. I think that was where they really stepped into a level that I don't think they could really reach again. Like, it did all the weird things that this one did, but it also just became more kind of accessible, as I've already said. But yeah, still, though, this doesn't rank too far behind, and The Money Store is fantastic. And maybe Rate Your Music is never beating the Fantano allegations, because, yeah, I mean, I don't know if these two would be here if they didn't get such like a co-sign from one of the biggest music reviewers ever. Like, I don't think they could be here, really. Like, if there was a world where Fantano never gave this a 10 or never gave this a 9, like, would they be here? Possibly not, but that's probably a separate conversation. And, you know, it's not really that useful. Yeah, Long Season, I mean, again, kind of cool that we have this in the top 52. I keep repeating myself here, but again, like, you can't really have an album like this before the internet, if you know what I mean. Like, there just wasn't a way for albums like this to get such recognition without really having like an online space to kind of have multiple thousands of people just kind of digging through archives of different types of music, and Fishman's have found their way so high up, which is insane. But yeah, I love this. I love it. I mean, it's not an album that I think, you know, you'd expect to be amongst some of these, but I still think it deserves to be here. I think it's a really unique sound. I love the live album as well. I thought that was a pretty fantastic album too. Yeah, Fishman's are really cool to me. I'm a big fan. Frank Ocean Blonde. So Frank Ocean Blonde is an album I've spoken about quite a bit before, where I always say, like, the highs are insane. Blonde is full of some of my favorite 2010 songs ever. Some of my favorite Frank songs ever, Pink and White, Self-Control, Nights, like, amazing. But I've always felt that some of the rest of the album, I think, is just good. Like, I think, like, it's just fine. Like, some of it's just fine. It's nice, it's good, it's heartfelt, the writing is really interesting, the vocals are powerful. But yeah, I think I'm sort of like in the very good range. Like, for me, it doesn't ever quite step into that top tier as a whole. I never really liked Nikes. Like, I thought that song would grow on me, and it never really did. I think it's okay, but yeah, I don't know, man. It just doesn't quite deliver from front to back for me personally, as I want it to, as a massive Frank fan, because, like I say, some amazing tracks on this album, but then also some ones that are just okay, kind of meh, just whatever. Okay, Godspeed You Black Emperor. They've got 2 albums here. I feel like they do this thing where I find them really captivating and really, really unique, and then sometimes it just falls on my ears and goes in one ear out the other, and it just doesn't land. I don't know, sometimes it's just very odd, and I like that both these albums here, because they both represent the two sides of how I feel about Godspeed. Because I think this one is very good, and then I think this one's just kind of meh. Now with this one, there are some really like great moments, but because the song lengths are like 20 minutes or whatever, you'll get like 3 or 4 minutes of brilliance, and then the rest of the track is just boring to me. So yeah, I felt the same about Godspeed, that album. I thought that was brilliant. Like, well, there were some brilliant moments like this one. I really like that one, as I do this one. But yeah, sometimes they kind of just detour into these meh territories, and I'm just kind of like a bit, yeah. Okay, Love Supreme. Yeah, I mean, it has grown on me actually the more I listen to it. It definitely deserves being excellent. It's great to see this represent the jazz of the top 50 because it's just so accessible. Like, there's some really beautiful moments with the piano, some excellent musicianship going on here. Like, you can't really go wrong with this as a jazz album. It's so good. That track too is phenomenal to me. Yeah, I think it's great to see this so high up because jazz, I think, has like a reputation amongst like casual listeners where it's just like, oh, jazz is boring. Like, a lot of people I come across just don't like jazz. But I'm glad that this is in top 50 because I think I could play this for somebody who thinks they don't like jazz and they'd love it. So yeah, it's a great album, very accessible. Also, okay, Joy Division. Now, I did do an essentials video a long time ago, actually, on post-punk albums. I think it's been well over a year since I put that out. And I did include this, but I did say that I think it's a good starting point for post-punk. But honestly, I think there are lots more interesting and unique post-punk listens than this one. I think, again, Reputation carries some of these albums into the top 50. Like, that is a really famous artwork there. And again, because everybody knows the album and it's an aggregate rating website, most people that are going to listen to it are going to enjoy it. And again, I enjoy it too. So it just pushes it up so high because it's got so many ratings, it's so recognizable, and most people who've heard it like it. So it just bumps up its rating so high up. But honestly, in the world of post-punk, I mean, like Sushi and the Banshees could be in the top 50, and that would be more like, I guess, better. I don't know the right word really. Like, I don't know, something like that for me. Yeah, I think it's very good, but again, Reputation kind of carries it a little bit like Paranoid. Just, you know, there's better of its kind, but because the album is so famous and it's so well known, it just ends up becoming the highest rated one, but it's not really the best that you can find, really. Okay, so Kanye West has 2 inclusions in the top 50, College Dropout, and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And yeah, I mean, I think My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is very good. I have a little bit of a sympathy for Mr. Fantano on this one because he's had a huge backlash for like ever with his opinion on this album. But honestly, yeah, I mean, there are some kind of okay tracks. Like, I don't know, man. Gorgeous. I find the beat like empty on that song. Where's the beat? Like, barely a beat. I don't really think Blame Game's that good either, and the Chris Rock outro is not funny at all. Like, Americans sometimes have odd sense of humor with some of their comedians of choice, man. Like, that is just like painful to listen to. I don't want to hear that. It goes on for friggin' ages as well. But similar to Blonde, I guess, like, the highs are insane. Power, Runaway, come on, man, they are amazing songs. All of the Lights I still think is really great too. Yeah, the reputation of this album surprises me as well, man. Like, for Kanye to have this as is like magnum opus does surprise me. It really surprises me. It's 27th all time. College Dropout is a little bit lower, but I think The Late Registration, even Graduation, are better than My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I don't know, man. There's just too many moments that like kind of just drag a bit. I'm just not really that impressed with what's going on as much as I feel like I'm supposed to be. But yeah, I think College Dropout is great though. I think that's a great album. I think it's yeah, I think that deserves its reputation. Like I say, I think Late Registration also should be this high. If you're going to have College Dropout here, I don't really know why Graduation and Late Registration are so much lower. I guess it's a little bit like the Black Sabbath thing here, where it's like there shouldn't be that big of a gap between these albums. But even still, College Dropout has some excellent songs. It's kind of Kanye at his true best in terms of his rapping ability, really. All Falls Down, Jesus Walks. Yeah, lots of amazing tracks. Through the Wire, of course. Yeah, we're going to go into Kendrick next. I mean, look, guys, I'm no stranger to loving Kendrick. I've been pretty praising of the guy, and he has the 5th highest album of all time on there, and the 1st highest album of all time. To Pimp a Butterfly is the highest rated album on the website, and that is quite remarkable that it made its way to the top, I will say. But I think it deserves everything that it gets, you know? I think it really is that good. I think the themes, I think the story, the concept, the way it all ties together with the poem, it's stunning, it's remarkable, it's Kendrick not necessarily being this kind of woke, free the slaves rapper that some people pull through with all that bullshit. Like, it's ridiculous that people come out with that for him. It's a lot more about, like, himself and his surroundings and the societal, I guess, politics that kind of make him who he is and make everything around him what it is. It's really interesting. There's so much to it. The tracks have amazing writing. The Black of the Berry, How Much a Dollar Cost, some incredibly like funky, slinky, like soulful production on tracks like Complexion. You've got Wesley Siri, you've got King Kunta. It just has all of the makings for an amazing, truly wonderful piece of art that just combines so many great elements from the 70s, from 90s rap as well, and the 70s soul and the funk and stuff. It's just got it all, man. It's so good. The rapping's incredible. The hooks are amazing. Yeah, Kendrick, it deserves it, man. It really does. And honestly, Good Kid, Mad City isn't a million miles away. I think for me, what stops it from being as good is some of the production actually does sound a little bit dated when you think about it. Like Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe does sound very of its time, but it's still good. Like, it's not a bad song. It just doesn't have that timeless feel that Kendrick has on To Pimp a Butterfly. Like, he mastered that. That album still sounds so fresh. Nothing about that album feels dated, and I don't think it ever will. But we're splitting hairs. Like, it's only minor stuff here because they both are some of my favorite albums ever, and I do think they both deserve the high placements that they've got as well. But yeah, come on, man, Sing About Me, Diamond Thirst, Money Trees, Mad City, Good Kid, The Art Peer Pressure. Those tracks aren't dated in the slightest, so it's all so good. The concept again is incredible. Like, Kendrick is just operating on a different level, man, and it's great to see that people recognize that, because it truly is something else with these albums. It really is. So King Crimson have 2 albums in the top 50, which I think is a little surprising. I think they are good. I think they have some amazing songs, but 2 in the top 50 I think is a little over the top, personally. I think In the Court of the Crimson King is clearly the better of the 2. I think it's just more consistent, because I think this album, Red, has some really interesting songs and really incredibly remarkable musicianship, but I think some tracks are just kind of okay. Starless, though, when you hit that track, that's amazing. That song, that's probably the best song they've ever done, so I think that carries the album a little bit higher for me to like at least a decent good level, because I do find some of the songs just a little bit kind of in one ear out the other. But I'm a little bit like that with prog generally. I think you'll find out a little bit more when we talk about some prog classics later on this list. But yeah, I mean, King Crimson, very unique band, very influential, but not one that I absolutely adore, really, outside of the odd song, which I do think is really great. Okay, Mad Villainy. I mean, I've talked about this album before. I think Mad Villainy is absolutely fantastic. In fact, I put it above Good Kid. I think it is up there with the very best of hip-hop we've ever heard. Just the sampling, the techniques used by Madlib, the kind of like, I guess, like bitty nature of it. Like, a lot of the songs are really short, straight to the point, but they feel so like purposeful. MF Doom's unique style of rapping, which is like never really been replicated before. I mean, come on, man, it's just as good as what people say, really. As is What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. Oof, yeah, that right there. I mean, goddamn, I could maybe even justify putting it above To Pimp a Butterfly. You know, it's close. They're close. But yeah, I absolutely love What's Going On. I love Marvin Gaye. The themes, the writing, everything feels so relevant to today. Everything feels so like powerful in the way that he approaches the writing. Yeah, absolutely love it. I love the fact that he's just asking questions all the time. The guy is clueless, bro. This guy is clueless. But no, it's it's an amazing piece of work. The instrumentation. Oh, every artist that's like making soul music or R&B music should be looking to this as the blueprint, because this is the best that it ever got. One of my favorites ever. Yeah, I mean, Miles Davis popping up twice here. I like these albums. I kind of zone in and out a little bit in places of In a Silent Way. I think kind of Blue is really beautiful. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I've said this already, but I'm kind of trying to rank them within the tiers. And as you can see so far, there's a lot of top quality stuff. Like, you kind of got to hand it to the top 50 here. Like, most of these albums are not out of place. Most of these albums are very, very, fairly ranked here. Like, they deserve to be here. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Miles Davis, I kind of like a good starting point for jazz, but I don't think like Kind of Blue blows me away. It's like a really lovely romantic background album that I think is really beautiful in places. But jazz for me, a lot of my favorite jazz albums are like nowhere near this top 50 or the top 100 or the top 1,000 probably. I find jazz in this form to kind of just not really blow me away. It's very good, but yeah, I kind of want a bit more bite to my jazz, I think, than what I get from Miles Davis, to be honest with you. I think Bitches Brew, for example, would be higher than these personally. I think that album has a bit more of like that energy that I look for in jazz, that kind of like vibrance I look for that I don't think these albums have. Mingus, now this album does have a little bit more of a bite to it, but again, I don't think I would rank it much higher than these ones. I think they're, again, all very good, but maybe it's just my own personal taste. I mean, I Love Supreme just has it locked in for me. But yeah, Mingus and Miles Davis are very talented, very good, but they don't quite hit the spot for me personally. But again, they're in the very good tier, so I'm obviously giving them praise. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool to see jazz being represented in this top 50. Like, when you look at what's here and what famous albums there are, jazz you would think maybe would be a little bit lower down, but it's kind of cool to see that people on the website do appreciate the genre. A little bit of a hot take here for My Bloody Valentine. This is 10th all time. I don't see the vision, bro. 10th all time. I'm not here for that, man. I think this is a very influential album, but I think is a great example of where influence doesn't not necessarily make it the best of its kind, because I think there are so many more shoegaze albums that are better than this for me personally, man. And I think, honestly, sometimes the wall of sound that kind of like smashes you in the face really comes at the expense of the melodies and the vocals really shining through. And it just doesn't always work for me. I think there's a weird like disconnect in the recording quality, which is probably part of the point. But yeah, I think it's decent, man. I think it's all right. Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of My Bloody Valentine, and I think again its reputation precedes itself a little bit here because it's so famous, it's so influential. I just don't think it's the best of its kind. Let's keep going then with Nas Illmatic. Yeah, I mean, excellent album, one of my favorite rap albums. Yeah, actually, I'm going to put Fishman's a little bit lower down, but yeah, I think Nas Illmatic is a real remarkable piece of art, man. Like, good God, the writing, the rapping, everything he's done at such a young age. I mean, that is a real exception to the rule there, because there are really not many people in music generally that can be that good at such a young age. The only ones that really come to mind are like Kate Bush and people like that. Like, that's a crazy level to be at that age. But yeah, it's so timeless. There's the production, it's all aged so well. In fact, there's a couple of excellents I'm going to throw in a row. I do think Neutral Milk Hotel's Aeroplane Over the Sea is as good as people say. It has a bit of a weird, awkward reputation where there's a lot of people that actually really do not like it. But I think it's as good as it's told to be. I really do. I think the writing's really interesting. It's vivid. The vocals and the instrumentation kind of feel off at times. Like, it's a real DIY quality to it. But I think it works incredibly well. And yeah, Pink Moon. Nick Drake's Pink Moon, a really, really beautiful, stark album that I've always found to be stunning. It's sad, it's really heartbreaking. The writing, again, will hit you, and the instrumentation is, yeah, sublime as well. It's a really, really mellow listen, but it's so good, man. Really hits the spot for me. Very influential again. When you look at like people like Elliott Smith or Sufjan Stevens, they really must have taken their kind of whole style from this album, man. It's very, very influential to a lot of albums for sure. But again, that's kind of besides the point. I just think it's great anyway. Like, influence, all of these albums are probably influential to some degree, of course. But yeah, I love what Nick Drake was doing here. It's definitely his best album for me as well. Okay, I've got a bit of a mixed bag here with Pink Floyd, because sometimes it just doesn't work for me. And then sometimes I think it's very good. I think it's very good, man. I think it's very good. And then other times, you know, I'd even go as far to say that it might be excellent. It might be excellent, man. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, they do have a bit of a up and down quality for me, because like I've sat through albums like Meddle, and I don't really get into that. But Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here are as good as I think they're made out to be. Wish You Were Here is 4th on the website of all time, and then Dark Side of the Moon ranks at 9. So Wish You Were Here and Dark Side of the Moon are ranked in a way that actually, you know, matches what people on the website think. So, you know, I'm kind of preaching to the choir a little bit here. But yeah, I Wish You Were Here, the title track, is one of my favorite songs ever. I think there are really some cool ideas on Dark Side of the Moon, and I think there are some really dated ideas, but I think overall it is a very good album. And yeah, Animals I just can't get into, man. Musically, sometimes Pink Floyd lose me, but when they're at their best, some of their passages, some of the instrumentation is to die for on Wish You Were Here. I think it's incredible at times. So yeah, love what they do on some albums, don't always love what they do on everything. We've got Portishead with Dummy, which I think, again, we're going to throw in the very good tier. Yeah, another album where it's just got some incredible songs on it, but not the whole thing wows me like that. I think sometimes it kind of feels like they're hitting the same note on most of the songs. Some people actually think their third album, Third, is the best one, which I don't agree with. I still think it's this one. And I love the vibe. I love the dark, brooding atmosphere. But yeah, I just think sometimes it feels like we're kind of repeating the same thing on a lot of the tracks, which kind of holds it back. I have some takes about Radiohead, man. I've got some takes. I think OK Computer is good, but it doesn't blow me away. And I think In Rainbows is definitely better. And it has some really cool, unique instrumentation on there, which I find to be really, really captivating. And I think there are some really incredible highs on OK Computer. But I just think, like, sometimes Tom's voice is, like, really, really bland, man. Like, honestly, man, like, he's just kind of, like, riffing and wailing. And I just, like, lose interest and zone out. I think it's less so on In Rainbows, which I think is why I like it more. But yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like Radiohead don't quite hit the spot for me. I think they are a very good band, but you know, man, look, OK Computer at number 2, In Rainbows at number 3, Kid A at number 8. Like, Are we for real, man? Like, it's just a little bit over the top. Like, 3 albums in the top 10, and you ain't got a single Kate Bush album there. Like, loads of other artists that don't even make their way into the top 50 once, but we've got room for 3 Radiohead albums. I know a lot of people think they are very good, and they are very good, but like, yeah, they're just very good though. Like, they're not higher than that for me. They're not an all-timer, honestly. They've got tracks that are all-timers for sure, but as full album experiences, man, Tom York doesn't keep me engaged. Again, speaking of influence though, they're more influential than some people realize. I think a lot of like bands in the late 90s, 2000s, like really wanted to do what they were doing. Like Keane, if you listen to that first Keane album, bro, you know, Somewhere Only We Know. The deep cuts on the album, are you for real? They are trying to be Radiohead. Elbow? Don't fool me, Elbow. Yeah, I knew what you were trying to do. Freaking Travis again. If you listen to the deep cuts, they are really trying to be Radiohead. Like they have done a lot more for music, particularly British music, than I think some people have realized. Everybody talks about the Coldplay one, obviously. Muse, yeah, like duh. Of course, everybody knows they're influenced by Radiohead hugely, but there are loads of other bands too that like really tried to be Radiohead in the 2000s. It's quite funny. Okay, Spiderland, again, kind of cool that a band like this can make it onto a top 50 list when you've got like David Bowie and Kendrick Lamar in there that are super famous. But it's all right. This post-rock sound can be a bit hit or miss for me. I do like a lot of it. The albums I do like, I like a lot, is what I'm trying to say. But it's just all right most of the time. This is going to be one of the more controversial takes out of this whole video, and it's going to be, I think, the only time I'm going to throw anybody in the bad tier. But Slow Dive, I cannot get with, man. I cannot do it. I find them to be absolutely dire. It is so dull to my ears. The vocals are just lifeless. The instrumentation, again, similar to My Bloody Valentine. You know, I get why these are here because of the influence, but I think it's a really good example of a genre, you know, surpassing its influences over time. I think there are lots more interesting and dynamic and enjoyable albums in this style of music, and I think Slow Dive ain't it, man. They ain't it for me. Their comeback album in like 2017 was the same. I just found it so boring. Yeah, maybe have to run to the hills for this one, but come on, man. I've got 50 albums here. There was going to be something I didn't like. You gotta give me some grace, okay? Hand me something. Give me a bone, please. Let me have this one, please. Okay. Stevie Wonder, straight to the top, bro. It don't get much better than Stevie Wonder. Absolute joy. This is like the joy of music. This is truly songs in the key of life, man. Like, this is life. This is the happiest you can ever be listening to music. Oh my god, Stevie Wonder was next level. You don't get much better than this. I think Gun to the Head, telling me like right now, what's your favorite album ever? You have to tell me right now or you die. I think I wouldn't be ashamed to say this. I think I'd be very happy to tell you that this album is the best I've ever heard. Just the perfect example of how you can pull off a double album, because this is a very long album, but honestly, it doesn't get any points where it dips. It's just beauty, man. The absolute peak of music for me. So good. Talking Heads, A Tale of Two Halves, because that first side is fantastic. Side B is kind of okay. Like, you can tell the very clear difference in how music was recorded and the vision behind creating albums back in the days of vinyl, because you have a very stark split in tracks here, where you just know that you had to flip over to get to the other side, because the night and day difference. I'm not saying I don't like the songs in the second half of the album, but they certainly aren't anything like the first half for me. And I also think as well, it's worth mentioning that the very clear Afrobeat influence that comes through on the first half, like Born Under Punches and tracks like that, I don't know how to approach this conversation, but it is a little bit of a shame that there isn't much representation of that genre outside of Talking Heads in this top 50, or even anywhere near the top 200, if that. You could be going lower, man. Like, it's interesting, but I get it. They brought it to a Western audience, and they do a very tasteful job of it. But I don't know, man. I personally think I would rather listen to the actual, place it came from over sitting through Talking Heads. I preferred it when they weren't doing that, and they had a bit more of a zaniness to them. And the first album, for example, I think is fantastic. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I say, Tale of Two Halves, and maybe some of that influence coming through. Maybe we could have seen more representation of where that music actually comes from on this list, because I don't think Talking Heads is the peak of that. And you should really dig deeper into Afrobeat and stuff, and not just stop at Talking Heads, because you'd be doing yourself a disservice. And seeing where they pull that influence from, I think you end up like realizing, actually, yeah, this is still a good album, but now that I've heard it done elsewhere better, I think it's kind of drops a little bit. Pet Sounds, I actually think there's a bit of an echoiness to some of the way these tracks are recorded that actually pulls it down a little bit for me. I still think it's very good. In fact, I'd put it at the top. I think it's borderline excellent. But yeah, I think some of the recording quality is very dated. Now, we're going to get onto the Beatles in a very short while, and I think there is a night and day difference to how these albums have aged compared to this album, I think. Like, I think this sounds very of its time. I think Abbey Road sounds like it could be timeless forever. But that being said, there's a real beauty to some of the songs. God Only Knows is fantastic. I Know There's an Answer is a personal favourite of mine. I actually think that's the best song on the album. But yeah, some of the deeper cuts, I think there's kind of like a hollowness to the production quality and the way the vocals are recorded that I think maybe is harsh to say because of its time period, but it just makes the song suffer a little bit. The melodies don't quite jump out in places on some of the tracks for me personally. But yeah, Abbey Road, come on, bro. What are we doing? This is definitely up there with the very best. Again, kind of funny how you can see the way that vinyl kind of shaped how albums were recorded at the time, because like the difference between some of the transitions and stuff are quite funny. But oh god, the highs on this album are crazy, absolutely crazy. Yeah, just incredible stuff. The last leg of the album as well, it's sensational. Love it. Very much an album where the reputation does match its quality, I think. Like I was saying with some of these others, where the reputation is greater than the actual music itself, I think Abbey Road lives up to it and more for me personally. I think Revolver is, again, very high up here. I think there are some real weak tracks in the middle of this album, but god, man, Tomorrow Never Knows, fuck. You can't ever tell me that Beach Boys were better than the Beatles, man. The level they were operating on some of these songs, Eleanor Rigby, man, just so forward thinking and so ahead of its time. It's crazy. It's just outrageous what they were doing. Taxman, love that too. But yeah, some weaker tracks for me. However, Sgt. Pepper's, I'm afraid to say, boys and girls, this might be worse than my slow dive take. Sgt. Pepper's, the songs just don't stick out to me at all. Like, they just don't. They don't stand out. There's no standout quality to these tracks. I think the atmosphere and the kind of psychedelic nature of what the album's trying to do may be more important than the individual songs. but song to song, I find them all so forgettable. And honestly, they created a unique atmosphere on Revolver anyway. So they've done the psychedelic stuff better in other places. And yeah, I don't know, man. I think this album perplexes me. It just doesn't land. I can't grasp the individual tracks. There's no things to latch onto. It's just kind of average. I don't know. Again, compared to some of their other stuff, that feels really ahead of its time and feels really like, you know, just timeless. I think some of this sounds really of its time now, in a way that Revolver doesn't, Rubber Soul doesn't, Abbey Road doesn't, Let It Be doesn't. You know, like, they don't really for me, but that one does. It's just not really, doesn't land. Maybe a take that won't age too well for a lot of you, but yeah. I've got to be honest. I'm only ever honest, guys. The Cure, Disintegration. Yeah, I mean, again, love so many tracks on here. It maybe runs a tad long. I don't know. I prefer Head on the Door, personally. I think that is more concise. I think it kind of captures the vibe of what they do in a quicker manner. And some of these tracks kind of take a little bit to get going. Their newest album did this as well, but actually I thought it moved along at a nicer pace than this one. But yeah, some amazing tracks on there again. I think some people would have this higher, but for me personally, I think I prefer other Cure albums to this one, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, The Glow Part 2, again, like that it made its way here. I think it's cool that it's on this list. But yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's alright. It's a decent little folk album. I don't think Phil Elverum blows me away like he does for others. Like, Mount Eerie generally seems to do something to people that I just do not see. That Microphones in 2020 album I thought was really not good. And yet people love it. People absolutely adored it. So I think Phil Elverum's style does something for others that I'm missing. But it's still alright for the most part. It just doesn't hit me like Pink Moon does, for example. Similarly, the Smiths don't quite hit the spot for me like they seem to for others. Again, though, I think it's good, but I don't quite adore it in the way that other people do. I think there's some great tracks on the album. You know, There Is a Light That Never Goes Out. It's great. But yeah, surprised to see it so high. I think it could potentially drop, though. I think it's kind of started to drop a little bit. I think it was high. It's now 40th all time. And I think some of the albums that are a little bit lower than it have potential to jump above it. Like, I think Blonde and Atrocity Exhibition, I think, will eventually surpass it. So I think over time it could fall a little bit. I think obviously Morrissey's reputation has taken a huge hit as well for a lot of the things he comes out and says. So I think a lot of people, you know, newer generations won't be as excited to try their music as maybe previous generations. I know you can separate the art from the artist. I'm not saying that I'm not doing that here. I am separating that from this album. But yeah, I just think over time, I think The Queen Is Dead will drop on this list, as it already has started to do. But yeah, I think it's alright. Yeah, the Smiths don't wow me like they do seem to for other people. I think they've got lots of individually great songs, but I don't think their albums from start to end are like amazing or anything like that. I think the Velvet Underground and Nico, though, I think this is an album that, yeah, deserves its reputation. I'll put it a little bit lower. I think it's, yeah, great stuff, honestly. I think it's a really, really captivating listen. I think it's a good example of how, like, a recording quality can sound dated, but it works really well. Like I was saying with Pet Sounds, in some places it feels a bit of its time. This sounds very of its time, but it actually works in its favor, and the kind of ruggedness and the rough recording quality at times really serves a great purpose and adds a cool dynamic to the tracks. And Nico's vocals work really well throughout the album too. Yeah, it's all really great. Sunday Morning, absolutely adore that song. What a song. And Heroin as well. Come on, man. All right, last couple now. Tyler Creator's Igor. Now, this being in the top 50 all time, I find to be remarkable, honestly. 30th it ranks all time. And honestly, it could even get higher. I think there's just so much love for this album and appreciation for this album that eventually it might even be in the top 20. I would not be surprised to see that. But you know, guys, if you've been here for quite some time, and if you're a real one and you've been following me from the early days, you will know I did not like this album when it came out. I really didn't. I would be putting it here if it was 2019. It would go right there. If it were 2019, this album would go there. Because you know why? I found it really hard to stomach those vocals. I found it really annoying, irritating. I thought Tyler was not hitting the notes that he was supposed to be hitting. It all fell flat and weird and didn't land. And I didn't properly pay attention to the concept either at the time, which I'll admit that review isn't too good. So I wouldn't recommend you watching that review, honestly. But times change. And sometimes the best albums get misunderstood on release. And the greatest albums become clearer as time goes on. And now, 6 years later, it's an all-timer again, man. It's an all-timer. It is up there with one of my favourite albums ever. Yeah, I love it. Absolutely love it. I think the style, the weird zaniness of the kind of gooey, funky, synthy, funky sound that kind of comes together is really cool. I think the blend with the R&B, neo-soul, hip-hop vibes that come through are really clever and smart too. I think the concept is brilliant. We've never really had an album that tackles this kind of thing in such a way that is unapologetic, and Tyler really doesn't shy away from showing his kind of worst personality traits. He's jealous, he's bitter, he's not the most pleasant person when he's so frustrated that this person is in a relationship with somebody else, and he clearly can see that they have feelings for him, but it's just not really all lining up. It really shows that ugly side of you when you do kind of develop those feelings for somebody. And it's a really interesting album, man. Musically, it sounds fantastic. Vocally, I still maintain it's a bit rough, but it doesn't sound as bad as I ever thought it did, honestly. I think I Don't Love You Anymore is the worst it gets, but yeah, it took some time. They grew on me a lot, and this album became one of my favorites. Man, just is what it is sometimes. And finally, Wu-Tang Clan, I'm going to also throw in the all-timer, one of my favorite hip-hop albums ever. I think the imagery and the stark writing is really clever. The way they all bounce off each other is insane. The amount of chemistry we see on this album is never going to be seen again in a hip-hop group with that many members. We saw Brockhampton try to do it, I guess, but nah, come on, man. It's something else on this one. The production is crazy, and I still maintain that while the solo albums of all these members are good, they're nothing compared to this. They're just not. I'm sorry, man. Supreme Clientele, no, not touching it. Liquid Swords, sorry, not touching it. It's not doing it, man. You're never going to convince me. You're never going to do it. And Only Built for Cuban Links, surprise, surprise, it ain't touching it. They're just not. They found something here so special as a group. It's just something else. And that is it from me, my friends. It is a long video. I do apologize, but I hope you've had a good time watching this one. And as you can see with the tier list, it's mostly very good, You can't really take it away from the Rate Your Music website. You can have your gripes, you can have your issues with the way it's run, the design, some of the user and the attitudes that come through on the website, maybe some of the lack of representation, which I've already mentioned, for some genres, for women in general, all valid to bring up. But it's mostly a really good top 50. It really is. You're not really getting too much dips here, and to have 4 albums that I personally don't like out of 50, I mean, man. And I can get why people like those ones too. So, you know, come on, man. It's not bad, you know. It's not bad. Let me know your thoughts. So, how would you rank this tier list? Send it me over on Blue Sky, Threads, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you follow me. Share it around. Follow for more. Subscribe for more. Like the video. My throat is starting to hurt. I've been speaking that long. Appreciate the work ethic here, guys. I hope you do. Have a good day. Goodbye.